Hello everyone and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Amy and my channel is AmyBeingMum. You'll have to excuse me if I'm speaking quite quietly because it's night time, the kids are in bed. It's the only chance I got to film this video and I want to try and make it as raw and real as possible. I'm just filming on my phone in my living room and I haven't bothered to put on any makeup or anything since this morning. So yeah, I just wanted to make this as much as like a real chat with you guys as possible. So if I keep looking down, I apologise. I've got some notes to kind of keep me on track for this chat because like I said, I want to try and keep it as raw and unedited, so I don't want to have to keep stopping and starting. So as you'll have seen from the title, today's video is about mental health and specifically my experience and my story with mental health. Channel Mum have asked us to talk about this month because they have just launched a new forum, the You Are Not Alone forum, which has proper moderators and things in it. So it's a safe place for you to go and discuss your concerns if you're having some issues with mental health or you're feeling down or you have some concerns. You can go and speak to someone there. Also, you can go and look at some other videos like this one from some of the other Channel Mum vloggers where they have shared their experience with mental health. Everyone's experience will be different. Mine will be different from the next person's. Some of them have spoke about self-harm. I think someone maybe spoke about OCD. So they've all spoke about a range of different kind of mental health issues which may or may not affect you. So if you want to go and check out their videos, I think it's a nice way of getting to know everybody a little bit better as well, even if it's not something that you're concerned with. You maybe would like to go and hear their story just to get to know them a little bit better. So as I said, today I just wanted to share with you my experiences with mental health and talk about my story and try and keep it as chatty and natural as possible, and I'm just going to get into it. So I have suffered with depression and anxiety since I was a teenager, on and off at different points. I only know now, looking back, that I was suffering with depression when I was a teenager. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't have put my finger on the fact that it was depression I was suffering from. And my parents didn't recognise it as that either. And to be honest, I don't think people really spoke about it being something that affected children or teenagers at that time. I don't think mental health and children was something that was really spoken about very much. I certainly didn't know anything about it. Now I'm much more aware of mental health and how it affects children and being more aware of it for my daughters. But at the time, I didn't know that was what was wrong and I really struggled. I didn't go to school an awful lot. If I did go to school, I would come home because I found it really difficult to be there, and I would be off school for long stretches of time. And the more I was off, the harder it was to go back. And I was really lucky. I had great friends and supportive people around me, and I never struggled to make friends. I was never bullied or anything like that. So I was lucky that when I did go to school, I could just slip back in, kind of thing. But I didn't go very often because I just found it too difficult. I just wanted to be at home and I just wanted to be in my bed and I just wanted to kind of make a cocoon and be in it and not be in the outside world. So that's how I was. And that's basically how depression affects me anyway, but I'll go on to talk about that a bit later. So that's how I struggled when I was a teenager, and that kind of affected me on and off at different points until I reached adulthood. And when I was 21, became really ill with depression and I didn't leave the house properly for about 6 months. And I was bordering on agoraphobic, which is a fear of going outside. I could go outside, but I found it very difficult. I got very anxious. I had a couple of panic attacks, and the only place I could really go was just directly outside my house, and I could go like straight into a car and go straight to my mum's and straight back. I couldn't go to like a supermarket or a public place or anything like that, and that went on for about 6 months, and that was me at my worst. And yeah, I read a book at the time which actually helped a great deal. I went to see psychologists and went to hospital for cognitive behavioural therapy just as an outpatient, and I got medication at the time, and I got better, and I got better, and then after a little while, after I got married and things, I then had my first daughter, and the doctor had said to me that it wasn't ideal to be on antidepressants when you were pregnant. So it is important that you take them if you need them, obviously, but if possible, it's better to be off them if you can. So I did come off them, and I was actually fine, and I had my daughter, and I was quite aware of looking out for the signs of postnatal depression, because I knew I would be this sort of high risk. And I never suffered from it. I never got postnatal depression, and I went years without worrying at all. I didn't struggle with my depression at all, and I went for quite a lot of years actually. When me and my husband separated, when my daughter was 4, I was really upset, obviously, because my marriage just ended, and I went to the doctor and they gave me antidepressants, and I went home and I actually gave it a couple of days, and I was able to recognise I'm not depressed, I'm upset because of a situation. And I think that's the difference. I think people will be like, oh, snap out of it, go and do something to cheer yourself up, whatever. And that's the difference between depression and just feeling a bit depressed, because I knew I could recognise that I was feeling upset and down about a situation, but I wasn't medically depressed. And I never took antidepressants, and I just went through the motions of separation and got through it. And then, as I said, I was fine for years and years, and then I had my second daughter, Elle, who is 2 now, and because I'd been well for so many years, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink of water, and yeah, I'd been well for years. I hadn't had postnatal depression with my first daughter. I think I got a little bit complacent, and I just kind of thought, this isn't something that affects me anymore, and so I didn't realise that I was suffering from it, and it kind of snuck up on me. I've written a blog post about it, which I'll link below in the description box, that kind of just sums up that part of my story, and it snuck up on me and I hadn't realised. And to be honest, I think I was actually suffering from, is it prenatal depression? When I was pregnant, I think it started. Looking back now, I can kind of recognise that, but at the time I didn't realise that, and I didn't realise I had it afterwards. It was around the time I started my blog, so I'd gone to see the doctor, and she was amazing, and she got me on some medication that really helped. And I think it's important to know that it can take a few different kinds of medication to get the right one. I'd had one before that didn't agree with me, so she gave me a different one to try, and sometimes that won't agree with you and you'll have to try a few different ones. And also the side effects with my tablet were really bad when I first started taking them. I was really lucky that I had a friend who was going through similar. She was kind of ahead of me in the game, if you want to put it that way, and I'd messaged her and said, oh my goodness, I feel awful, and she said yeah, and she told me all the things that I was feeling were normal. I felt really sick, I had sore heads, I just felt awful, and I was so tempted to stop taking them, and she said no, it'll last 2 weeks max. And sure enough, I just persevered, and by the time 2 weeks came, the symptoms were long gone. But if I ever forget to take them, if I run out of medication and I stop taking them, maybe only a couple of days, maybe a day, a couple of days, and I start to have like the withdrawals, I get the same symptoms, and when I start them up again I get the same symptoms. So it's important to keep taking them. You're not supposed to not take them, but that's beside the point. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how I manage my depression and anxiety. Basically, well, one thing I've just mentioned is, excuse my nails by the way, one's painted and one's not. One of the things is I take medication, which works for me. It's what I need. I know myself. I've tried to come off it a couple of times in the last year, and I know myself at the moment I need to take that to sort of balance out the whatever's going on in my brain. And when I take that, I feel as normal as I can. They don't make me feel like, they're not like happy pills. They don't make me feel euphoric or anything like that. They just make me feel normal, just on a even keel when I've been feeling really down or anxious. One of the things that I find when I get depressed, I still have low days, weeks, and when I get depressed, I just sort of, the only way I can describe it is I kind of shut down. I just kind of go into myself. I don't want to go out. I don't want to interact with people. I just want to stay in, not speak to people, just kind of shut off from the world. But when I'm feeling that way, I don't necessarily want to go out and meet people, and social media and things really helps because it means I'm still interacting with people, and it gives me that kind of lifeline to the outside world, so that really helps. Being around positive people, being in contact with positive people. I don't tend to have any negative people in my life. The people that are in my life are people that I've chosen to be in because they're really positive and upbeat, and they share the same values as me and things. And I tend to read like self-help books and things that are going to make me feel positive and empowered and enrich my life, I would say. Things that help me, one thing that I've come to realise is when I'm feeling that way, I just accept it. In the past, I would beat myself up about it, and I would say, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I different to everyone else? No one else feels this way. I would feel guilty if I had to cancel. Like, if I was meant to be meeting friends and I had to cancel it, I would beat myself up about it. I would think, oh, I'm such a bad friend, I'm awful, and that would make it worse, and it would be like a vicious circle. It would just go on and on. So now, if I'm feeling that way, I allow myself to feel that way. I accept this is how I'm feeling just now. It might be a few days, a week. I know myself now. I'm in my 30s, so I know how I work, and I just kind of accept this is how I'm going to be this week. We're going to work through it, and I'll be back to normal next week or whatever. Yeah, as I said, social media and interacting with people online really helps for when I'm not feeling like meeting people. I've got loads of WhatsApp groups with friends that I can talk to if I'm not up to meeting with them, and that really helps me stay connected to people without having to actually meet up with them in person. If you're feeling the same, I would encourage you to get help. The You Are Not Alone forum from Channel Mum, I'll link below, is a great place to go and speak to other people. The Channel Mum vlogger stories that you can go and watch is a great way to feel like you're not alone. You can go and watch their stories, and maybe even just to give you the confidence to go and speak to someone else. Hearing other people and how they've done it can help you. Talking to a supportive friend. It's important to choose carefully who you speak to about these things. You don't want to speak to somebody that's going to go and tell the whole world if that's not what you're ready for. You don't want to speak to somebody who's going to say, oh, come on, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, you just need to get out there or whatever. If you're actually ill with depression, that's not really going to help, probably. Speak to your GP, and you hear so many times people having bad experiences where they speak to their GP and their GP isn't helpful or understanding. And doctors are humans too, and you will get people that they should all be really good at understanding and being sympathetic and all the rest of it, but you're going to have, it's human error, I guess. You're going to have people that aren't so helpful. So if you find someone that isn't helpful and you come away feeling worse, which shouldn't happen, but if you do, don't give up. Make another appointment, ask for a different GP. You don't have to see the same GP, ask for a different one, and don't give up until you've got the help that you're needing. If you're feeling suicidal or having any thoughts of self-harm, which thankfully I have never been in that situation, but if you are, it's very important that you get help. I'm going to put the Samaritans phone number in the description box. You can contact them. They are open, their helpline's open 24/7, 365 days a year. Don't feel like you're wasting anybody's time. Don't feel like you don't have it as bad as someone else, because I know when you hear other people's stories, sometimes you think, oh, well, I don't have it as bad as them. But if you're struggling, you're struggling. So get help if you need help. And I hope it's helped you to hear my story and know that I've been through it too, and I still struggle with it at times. So I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below or your experiences. And don't forget to go and check out the other Channel Mum videos. I'll link down in the description box, as well as loads of other helpful links. And I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.